So good morning, everyone. My name is Yvan Lacroix. Been in the detailing industry for a couple decades, actually 4. And efficiency is my thing. I love efficiency. Efficiency is what makes us profitable. Efficiency is what makes us easy to work with, easy to work for when you have employees. And it's, as the name of the class says, it's a mindset. So at any point, if you have any question, please raise your hand. Like I always say in the beginning of these things, I've got about 5 minutes worth of material, so I need questions to keep us going. Efficiency. It's the basis of profitability. You need efficiency to be profitable. The more efficient you are, the more profitable you're going to be. And the more profitable we are, the better customer service we provide. Profitability is an integral part of customer service. It's probably one of the most important parts of customer service, because if you're not profitable, you will not be around to serve your customers longer. So we need that profitability. Yes, if you could turn it down just a little bit. Does everybody in the back hear me? Good? Okay. Thumbs up in the back, we're good. So, efficiency. The first thing that starts with efficiency is how we view what we're doing. And detailing, there's a lot of places where we can lose efficiency dramatically, quickly, and make our lives a living hell. So from there, first thing we need to do, we all like products. We all work with many products. Who has the shelf, as I like to call it, with the 18 compounds, the 6 waxes, the polishes? Yeah. Unfortunately, that shelf is a huge killer of efficiency, and especially when you have employees. If we tell the employee, compound this paint, and they have to go to that shelf and choose between 5 compounds, they don't know which one to choose. In your shop, the more you can reduce the number of products you have, the more efficient you will be. The less selections or the less choices your employees need to make, the more efficient your employees will be. Your employees will now be able to, I need to compound the vehicle, I have 1 compound to choose from. Great, I don't need to make a choice. And most of us here are entrepreneurs, some of you are employees. When you're an employee, you chose not to be an entrepreneur because you don't want to have that stress. You don't want to make decisions. And when you're an employee, if your boss can make your decisions for you or make your decisions easier for you, the better off you are. Because at 5 o'clock when you punch out, that's great, you can forget about it. When you're an entrepreneur, we still continue working on our business even though the doors might be closed. When it comes to efficiency, it's also the space that we're dealing with. So whether you're a mobile detailer or shop, always looking at how is my workflow. And workflow is a very important part, not only in the size of the shop, the area, but also how things are laid out. An example, we'll start with the wash bay. Well, our wash bays had the pressure washers and the steamers on either side. They had air lines on either side. They had vacuum lines on either side. They had everything in duplicate. And the reason it was duplicate, we could have 1 employee washing a car, working their way around the vehicle, or 2 employees working in tandem and getting the job done quicker. So depending on where we were in the day, sometimes there'd be 2, maybe 3 employees in the wash bay, and at the end of the day, there was just 1. Having that flexibility in your workspace allows you that efficiency to happen. The wash bay is unfortunately a place where a lot of people lose that efficiency. So having the least amount of choices. As detailers, we like the 2-bucket method. I used a rinseless wash, so my 2-bucket method was 1 bucket on either side of the car. If you're needing to walk to your bucket every time you need to rinse your wash media, you have a problem. Buckets normally take 3 to 4 weeks to train to follow you around, but once you've trained that bucket to follow you around, it will do so. And once you've done that, your efficiency becomes a lot better. Now, one of the basic things you can do for efficiency is a video camera. A phone, a security camera, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be a high quality video. Set it at the lowest setting you have. Film yourself doing an aspect of the detail or a complete detail. And then watch it with someone who isn't a detailer. Give them good popcorn, make sure they're comfortably seated, because it's going to be boring. But you have them watch the film with you to ask questions. And if they're a 5-year-old, even better, they always ask questions. But you want someone that's going to ask you questions. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And you'll ask yourself as well, why did I do that? What was I looking for that took me 5 minutes to find? Those are all things that you can gain time on. When I do an efficiency audit for someone, that is something that I do, is I have them do a video. And normally you can capture back about 20%. So just by watching that video, and even if you've done one before, do it again. Or if you have employees, don't put the camera right in front of them because they get a little freaked out with that. But if you have security cameras, watch the security camera. Identify where they're losing time. And you might have an employee that you notice that every 5 minutes they're looking at TikTok. Well, that's a problem. You might have an employee that is just aimlessly searching for stuff because they don't have things in the right place at the right time. And that's something you, as an employer, can help them with. Now, one of my favorite tools in a shop is a cart. When we have a cart, and whether you're a mobile detailer or a shop detailer, same thing, have a cart. That way you're not walking back and forth. If you have polishers on that cart, the polishers are plugged into the cart, not plugged into an extension cord on the wall. That way, forcibly, the cart is following the employee around the vehicle. Now, my favorite carts, Harbor Freight, they make a 5-drawer cart that they make in multiple colors. I think it's 8 different colors. So unless you have more than 8 employees, you're good. What we do with those carts is we identify every bottle on the cart with the color of the cart. So the employee that is the red cart, if they're walking around with a yellow bottle that's identified to the yellow cart, there's an issue, there's a problem. Where is your bottle? And that is something, even if you're alone, having that cart will get you into that mindset of everything goes on this cart. On the cart, you'll have your polishers, and for us, in our shop, we have 3 pads. We have 3 pads, we have 3 polishers on every cart. There is never a need to change the pad off the polisher. It's grab the polisher, it's already plugged into the cart, do that section that you need to do the next pass with the next polisher and pad, and go. Another tool that is an incredible, when we're talking about polishing, aid in efficiency is a pad washer. Now, I'm not branded anymore, I don't work for any companies, but there is one specific, this is the only time I give a specific tool, and that's the Lake Country System 4000 pad washer. There are others out there that recirculate the same material, the same pad cleaning material. When they do that, you've actually only washed your pad once. As soon as you soil that water, you're never washing your pad again. And a pad washer, yes, it's taking you 30 seconds every time you're using it, but it's increasing the efficiency of the pad, it's increasing the longevity of your pad, the lifetime of the pad, and your polishing efficiency. So the pad washer is an important efficiency tool. Like I said, I'm not branded, but this one, the Lake Country, is definitely worth talking about. When we're polishing, another thing that I see people doing is mixing and matching. Now, these companies go to great extents to make their products work together. And whether it's McGuire's, whether it's Optimum, McKee's, AutoGeek, they have their own brands. They all do it in a fashion that the compound is supposed to be followed by the polish, etc., etc. They work together. And when you do that, a lot of companies, if you actually question them a little bit, you can save a lot of time. Knowing that system, being able to use that system as designed, will make it more efficient for you. And one of the things that a lot of companies allow you to do, and a lot of detailers don't do, is you don't need to wipe off after compound before going to polish. And that's a big waste of time. Also, if you're using a polish that creates so much dust that you need to clean the car afterwards, that's an issue. You might really like using that compound, or you might really like using that polish, but that time you're wasting cleaning the car afterwards is a big problem. And the chemical companies are doing a lot of things for us. They're trying to make us more efficient. They're trying to make us entrepreneurs by providing solutions and find out those solutions. There's a lot of booths just the other side of this wall that are being set up, and go talk to the companies. If you like a particular brand, talk to that brand rep. Find out, how can I make my work more efficient using your brand? And there are some brands that don't care about your efficiency, and when you find that out, you may want to change brands. And there are some brands that really do care about your efficiency. And when they do care about your efficiency, that makes your life easier, because they will tell you tips and tricks on how to use their particular brand of product, how to make that product the best that you can make it. They will suggest pads, they will suggest machines, they will suggest speeds. All of that comes into play. So systems are designed and are put in place for us. Use those systems. The other thing that helps with efficiency is just the shop layout itself. Now, I mentioned carts. A lot of detailers, too many detailers, have horizontal surfaces other than the floor in their shop. And that's a workbench, that's shelving, that's places where things disappear to. I've been to shops where I've taken stuff off their workbench, and how long has this been here? They couldn't tell me. It's just taking up space, or, oh, you found that, I was looking for that. Not a good thing to do. So having the least amount of horizontal surfaces in your shop keeps it more organized and gives you more space in your shop. There's no need, we're not mechanics. We don't need a vise, we don't need a workbench. We don't need things like that. In our shops, the employees had their carts. Our painter, because we also had a body shop, painter had his workbench for mixing the paint, and that was it. There was no other workbenches in the place. Shelving units, the same. We had one shelving unit for fans, blowers, things like that. That was it. And our chemical storage was one locker. So we were a shop doing close to $1 million a year in that shop. We only had one storage locker for products. So not having an excessive amount of product. Another thing you can do as the shop owner, or your shop manager can do this depending on the size of your shop, is don't have your employees looking for chemicals. Make it the responsibility of the shop manager, whoever that is, to fill the employees' bottles, to make sure those bottles are filled. So your employee isn't running around. Your employee isn't diluting products. Because dilution is something that can vary from one person to another. Some people will actually measure it. Some people use the glug-glug method of dilution. And the glug-glug method of dilution is never accurate. Sounds nice, but it doesn't work. And that's something about efficiency, using the chemicals as designed. Using the chemicals, if 10 to 1 is the designed ratio, 20 to 1 isn't better, and 5 to 1 isn't better either. Find out what that dilution ratio is and use it. Now, some of you have seen the automatic dilution things. They're okay, but I find they actually waste product and waste time. And it's not, the chemical companies that are selling those want you to have them, because they're not always accurate. And they're always, if they're inaccurate, it's in the way of putting more chemical in than water. And it's something that can be avoided. You don't necessarily need that. You shouldn't be using that many chemicals in your shop at one time. That one person can't be responsible for filling out the carts. Now, another part of efficiency is your scheduling. How many here are booked out more than 2 weeks? Okay. That seems good on paper. It's very bad for your customers. You need to have the space available as soon as possible. We're in a society now where people want instant gratification. If you're to go to the restaurant, sit down, order your meal, and they'll say, yeah, we'll have it out to you in 2 weeks, come back. That's not a good situation. And when someone is ready to pay you to detail their car, that's when they want it done. People don't anticipate the need to have their car detailed a month later. They're coming to you because they want it detailed now. Now, if you're great at customer service and they absolutely want to deal with you, that's good. But occasionally, those customers will disappear on you. And that's when you have people that don't show because they found someone else to detail their car when they wanted it detailed. They wanted it faster. So having that efficiency means you'll be able to do more work. You'll be able to bring that lead time shorter. And as entrepreneurs, if you have a day where it's a little slow, that's not a bad thing. It allows you to organize the shop. It allows you to work on developing new processes. It allows you to train your employees on a new item. So having that isn't a bad thing. And with social media the way it is, we can always advertise to get more work in soon. And a lot of detailers sort of do a sawtooth thing. So they advertise, they get a lot of work, they get booked out a couple of weeks, they stop advertising. Then they run out of work, oh, I need to start advertising again. As the business owner, your job is marketing. Your job is organization. Your job is making sure that your employees have work. And if you're alone, still, you need to be marketing and selling consistently, not in a sawtooth pattern. And that will increase your efficiency as well, because now you're able to progress, you're able to know when work is coming in and how to get work as well. Marketing is a very important thing. It's one of the most important aspects of our business, because if you're not marketing, yes, word of mouth works, but word of mouth is not consistent. Word of mouth goes away in the winter. Word of mouth when it rains. I have friends in California, if they're just forecasting rain in the next 5 days, people cancel because, oh, it might rain. If we did that in the Northeast, we'd never work. Or in Florida in the summer, there's always the 3 o'clock rain here or something. 3:30, somewhere in there. So it happens. And we need to work around that. We need to be always marketing, we need to be always selling, and that's part of being efficient. Now, if you're booked out more than 2 weeks, hire someone. It's just, we got booked out 4 hours, we'd hire someone. Not 4 days, not 4 weeks, 4 hours. Because we wanted, when the customer would come in, to be able to say yes. That's an objection to the sale. The customer wants their vehicle done now, we can do it now. Here are the keys to our loaner car, come back when it's ready, we'll give you a call. And having that ability to turn around increases your efficiency. Your employees as well, knowing exactly where they're going. Now, standard operating procedures are part of efficiency. They will make your employees more efficient, they will make you more efficient. Even though if you're a lone operator, you should still be working on your standard operating procedures. And your standard operating procedures will make everything more efficient. And writing a standard operating procedure is probably the most boring thing you will ever do. It's time consuming, it's long, it's arduous, but it pays back many, many times. And a lot of people, their idea of a standard operating procedure is maybe a sheet, 2 sheets of paper. Standard operating procedure for something basic like washing should maybe be about 20 pages. Your standard operating procedure needs to be to a point where someone that's never detailed, a 12-year-old, can walk into your shop, read the standard operating procedure and do everything. That means they know where to turn the lights on. They know where the emergency eye wash station is. They know where everything is in the shop through that standard operating procedure. They know where the wash bucket is. They know how to fill the wash bucket. They know what to put in the wash bucket and what quantities and in what order. It needs to be that explicit, that basic, and it also needs to be set up in a way that people learn differently. Some people learn by watching, some people learn by reading, some people learn by doing. And our standard operating procedures, we had a visual aspect of it, we had a written aspect, and we also had a flow chart. So having that allowed our employees, no matter how they were learning, to be able to learn it. The other aspect of the standard operating procedure is the efficiency. So once they know what that standard operating procedure is, everybody in the shop will work the same way. For us, interiors are where a lot of detailers lose time, where the SOP becomes even more important. We could have an employee die mid-detail. We just need to move the body out of the way. The next person would know exactly what was done in the car already. Now, fortunately, that never happened to us. But if someone needed to leave because their kids were sick, whatever, they could leave. They didn't need to explain to the next person what they had done. Just by where they left the towel in the car, we knew exactly what had been done and what needed to be done. And we could trade off employees in the middle of a job because one person was better at doing something else, not a problem. No explanation was needed. They knew exactly what had been done and what needed to be done. And that's because of the standard operating procedure. Like I said, writing the SOPs is long, boring, arduous, but it needs to be done. And that video I mentioned before, that will help you write your SOP. So you'll actually watch the video. And as you're watching, take notes. And you can pause the video, which is great, to write your SOP. And you'll see in that video as well that, oh, why am I doing this? And then you can eliminate it from the SOP. So as you're writing your SOP, you're going to be increasing your efficiency as well. And now is the time of year, especially for those of you in the northern climates, where it's a little slower. You can take the time to write those SOPs. Get ready for the spring rush. And once you have that SOP in place, you're good. Any questions so far? Yes?
Where's this video?
The video you make to find out your efficiency. So, or where you're losing time. Yes?
So I'm mobile, I don't have a shop at all.
Perfect.
How can we adjust some of the things that you talked about to being mobile?
Okay, it's basically the same thing. So with mobile, you'll still have a cart. They make folding carts. The gentleman behind you knows exactly what cart he was in one of my last sessions, so he'll be able to identify the cart for you. But having that cart with locking wheels, because not every driveway is straight, having that, so when you get to the job site, take it out, put it there. Standard operating procedure, the same thing. It's having the standard operating procedure identified to what you're doing. So when we get, this is how we park. This is the first door we open. This is what we get out of the van. This is what we put on the cart. Everything needs to be identified like that. So again, set a video on the video camera on the roof of the van or the truck or whatever you're using. Aim it at where you're working and do that. It's the same concept whether you're a mobile shop base, whether you're alone or have 50 employees. It's having that efficiency built in. It's looking at where am I losing time and how can I gain that time back. Yes, sir.
You had mentioned the 3 pads you use and the products you use. Do you mind sharing those? Do you still believe in those?
Yeah, basically find a system that works for you. But basically we had a cutting pad on the DA. We had a one-step pad on the DA, and we had a finishing pad on the rotary. Now, some people are going, wait a minute, finishing with the rotary, cutting with the DA? Yes. Cutting with the DA using the right pad, and there's a lot of pads on the market now. Basically a short nap wool with a foam backing. Many different companies make that style of pad now. Excellent for cutting. Will outperform the old wool mitt on the wool pad on the rotary 100 times. One-step pad, especially if you have employees, that one step is super easy to do. We have one pad, it works. I personally prefer a waffle pad when it comes to foam, simply because it's a more efficient pad. It gives a better user experience. It doesn't grab, it doesn't move you around. It allows you to work, and you actually get better contact with the surface. Jokingly, I get up around 3 in the morning just so I can hate flat pads a little longer every day. They're very inefficient. Now, the pad manufacturers love flat pads because they're the cheapest to manufacture. They're the easiest to make. They don't require special tooling, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a lot of different textured pads on the market. I prefer a textured pad over a flat pad. And then for finishing, we use a waffle pad on a rotary. And don't be afraid of your rotary. The rotary will give you a much better finish than the DA. The DA, came to us in the late 80s. The first car polished with a Porter cable was a 1970 Volvo 244 DL in Carlsbad Gold. My car. I worked for Porter Cable at the time. So the porta cable was originally designed never to be in the hands of a professional detailer. The whole aim of the porta cable was, let's put this in the enthusiast hands. They can polish their car on the weekend and not have to worry about swirls and things like that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, detailers picked up the DA. Now we have the long stroke DAs. Long stroke DAs are great, they're efficient, they work. And if you're gonna get a DA, if you don't have, yes sir?
I was just wanting to touch back on, you were mentioning that you didn't have to wipe compound before polish? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'll just finish and then yeah. So with the long stroke DAs, you have the choice of 15 or 21, get a 21. The 15 is just, I find, you can go, if you have a 21, do with that, and then learn how to finish with your rotor. The rotary will give you the fastest, easiest, simplest finish that you can get on a vehicle. It's not as scary as people make it out to be. Before the DAs happened, everybody finished with the rotary. And not every car had swirls on it, not every car had buffer trails. Keep the speed low, keep the pad flat, and no pressure. And you will get a nice finish with your rotary. Now, to answer your question, yes. Check with the manufacturer that you're working with, but a lot of them, you don't need to wipe off the compound before going to polish. A lot of manufacturers, it's actually the same abrasive that's in the compound and the polish, it's just a different concentration. And as you're compounding, you've worn away that abrasive to a point where it becomes a polish anyways, so having it on the surface is good. The other thing is, a lot of people put way too much polish or compound on their pads. And when you're doing that, you're leaving a big residue. Basically, when you're done compounding, the paint should almost be clean anyways. So adjust your technique to fit the product. And also, if you're using McGuire's, they're here. If you're using Rupes, they're here. If you're, whatever brand you're using, go to that company, talk to them, find out. And if they're not here, they have a website, they have a phone number, give them a call. They should have a technical service rep. And if they don't have a tech person, find another company. Yes? Questions? No hands? Come on, people. Oh, yes?
So with that, with not wiping off the compound first and polishing behind it, I like to do that as well to save time.
Right.
It doesn't worry you to like cross-contaminate getting compound in the polishing pad and vice versa.
No. I mentioned the pad washer earlier. I never put clean polish on a dirty pad. So I never will polish. Basically, as soon as the pad comes off the paint, it gets clean. So you won't have that cross-contamination. The other thing is, you technically are not using the same pad to cut as you are to finish. So you're not going to damage the pad in any way.
Yeah, I guess the only way you would run into that is if you did compound polish panel by panel instead of doing the whole car with compound, then the whole car with polish. You wouldn't really run into that problem.
Well, in our shop, we did that. So we'd start a panel and finish a panel. We would go around the car 3 times. We'd go around the car once, but we had the 3 machines plugged into the cart right beside the employee. So they would compound. And another thing, compounding.
So you weren't switching pads on each machine?
No, we had a machine with each pad.
Gotcha.
So we weren't switching pads, we weren't switching, just grab the machine that's there, start polishing, put it back, compound. For compounding, too many people compound way too much on a vehicle. You don't need to compound the whole vehicle. You need to compound where there are scratches. And if you live in the north, those scratches are from the body line up. From the body line down, people aren't using their snow brush to wipe the snow off the bottom of the car. And that's what scratches the cars. Southern climates, they use car washes more, but nonetheless, compound only where you need to compound. You don't need necessarily to compound the whole vehicle. And another efficiency sapper for a lot of people is paint perfection. Get that out of your minds. We don't need to make paint perfect. How many times have you done a single step on the car, you as the detailer is looking at the car going, this is horrendous, I can't do this. And your customer shows up and goes, my car's never been this beautiful. It's better than new. It's perfect. We don't see, or we see, what our customers don't see. There are things that we see that they will never see, they will never understand. We don't need to educate our customers on every flaw on their vehicle. It's just something as detailers, unfortunately, we do, basically to boost our ego, to show, look how good I am at polishing paint. I can make this disappear. They never knew it was there. We don't need to do that. I went to a shop in Poland. I did a training there, and they had the most beautiful display area in their shop. And they had panels with TVs below the panels explaining what was done to that panel. And the owner, despite the beauty of it, wanted to redo it because he had one panel that this is a single step paint enhancement, this one is compound and polish, this one is wet sanding, compounding, and polish. The customers would look at the three panels and go, what's the difference? Now, we can see it from 20 feet away. The customer's standing right in front of it, and the panel is a 50-50, and they're all 50-50 panels. This one is a one-step, this one is two-step, this one is wet sanding, polishing, compounding. I can't see the difference. So what we see is not what our customers see. And as detailers, we lose way too much time using our fancy little lights, trying to find defects that don't exist. And also, paint is a finite resource. There's only so much paint on the vehicle, and as we know, it's getting thinner and thinner and thinner every year. Paint is the most expensive part on the vehicle. There's a gentleman here that owns a body shop. So, there he is. How much does it cost to do a full repaint on a car? Okay, but an OEM quality job. Yeah. So, and you're very cheap, by the way. We didn't do it in our shop under $8,000. So, for a full repaint. You can get an engine, a short block, rebuilt, or a factory new engine for under $5,000. You know, a crate motor is like $3,500. Meanwhile, people are going around changing the oil every 5,000 miles because that's what they do. But if you look at the owner's manual of the vehicle, how much is sacrificed or how much space is in that manual on taking care of the paint? A paragraph, maybe a sentence, maybe a page. There's like 8 pages on changing the oil and maintaining the engine. Meanwhile, the paint is the most expensive part. And as detailers, we're removing the most expensive part. So when we're compounding, we don't need to eliminate the scratch. And if you eliminate the scratch, you're actually damaging the customer's vehicle. We need to round over the scratch. And for just rounding over the scratch, it disappears visually. We know where it is. Nobody else will ever see it. But we're saving the paint because we don't know how deep a scratch is. Now, clear coat on average is about 50 microns or 2.5 mils. Once we get past that, or once we get too deep into it, we've all polished a car. It started out, felt like a rock, and then all of a sudden you breathe on it and it scratches. That's because you've taken that top layer, and when paint is curing, the clear coat, we're not dealing with paint unless you're dealing with single stage, but the clear coat, as it's drying, as the solvents are evaporating, they're bringing to the surface different products. A lot of paint companies use melamine, some use ceramics, but they come to that surface and they form a crust way of looking at it that's between 5 and 10 microns thick. Once we polish through that crust, we have basically ruined that paint. Now, for our egos and for our friends on Facebook and Instagram, we've made that paint perfect. We've ruined it, but we've made it perfect. And that customer will no longer have satisfaction from their car because they won't be able to clean their car like they were doing it before. Now, when we get the car, and as detailers, this is something that will help your efficiency a lot. One little phrase, it is not my fault. It's not your fault that the customer spilled grape juice on the seat. It's not your fault that they go through the car wash every week with the brushes slapping on the car, scratching it up. And we can make the paint perfect. We make the paint perfect. What are they going to do next week? They still have that sticker on the windshield that allows them to go through the car 80 times a day if they want. Go through the car wash 80 times a day if they want. They're still going to do that. We want to enhance the paint. We want to make it look as good as possible, and we want to protect it. That's where ceramic coatings come in. So if you're not offering ceramic coatings, get a ceramic coating. I don't care what brand, they're all good. They all do their job. Get a ceramic coating, put it on those paints. And that's going to increase your profitability dramatically. We used to do, when I started detailing, a wash and wax, and that was about as good as we got, maybe a little polish, and we might charge $150. Well, now we can do about the same amount of work and put a coating on it and charge $1,500 or $2,000. So it's part of our system. And as detailers, these new products are coming along every day. And speaking of coatings, there are brands out there that are working for the detailer, and there are brands that are working for the detailer's ego. Find a brand that is working for you, meaning a coating that you can install without having 18 coats, without 8-hour curing time between each coat, without having to use IR curing lamps, things like that. Your customer doesn't care what brand of coating you're using. Now, the coating companies disagree with me here, but rarely will a customer come up to you and say, I want this brand of coating. The customer wants a ceramic coating, and you're their detailer, you're their provider, you're the one telling them, this is the brand I like to use, these are the reasons I like to use it, and it goes from there. I'm satisfied with this brand, I'm the one selling you this, let's go. If the customer is stuck on a particular brand, which I've never had happen, but detailers, you get into the mindset of this brand is what's helping me build my business. That ceramic coating brand is not helping you build your business. You're building your business. It's your brand, it's not theirs. Another thing, when you go back to your shops, you all have these banners on the walls advertising different companies, whether it be, I remember 10 years ago, everybody had the same Black McGuire's banner hanging up in their shop. Your customer, when you're doing marketing, one of the things you don't want is other brands. You're marketing your brand. Does your coating company pay you to put that banner in your shop and have it in all your videos? Well, if not, take it down. The banner that should be up there is your name. So when someone sees your marketing, your money that you're putting to do that marketing, they should see your brand. So replace those banners with your brand, with your banner. That's what you need to do. So, but I digress on getting into marketing, that's not what we're here for. It's efficiency. But that's part of it. Always be building your brand, always be selling, and that's gonna help you be more efficient. As a detailer, where was I? Oh, yes, so polishing, sorry. Anyways, so we don't want to polish the paint off the car. We want to make it look as good as possible and protect it. And selling protection versus perfection will get you a lot further. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Wanted to say thanks for some of the washing articles that you've done. I've used rinseless over the years and a lot of stuff. I've always been skeptical to use it on my own cars. Spent the last several months really refining the wash process.
Yes.
Get rid of the, final stages here. My guys were using, I don't know how many buckets, but probably up to 7 or 10 buckets. And then the foam wash in between and the pre-treat and everything else. We've gone to a much more simplified, refined, rinseless wash process that we'll use on $1 million museum cars, just as much as we use them on the next door neighbor's daily driver.
Exactly.
It's been quite refreshing to do that. I've used it on some of the softest paint in the world that you can breathe on and it scratches and have not had issues. So it's been kind of relieving to finally get to a very, very simple wash process.
Excellent, yeah. And soap should have disappeared with lacquer paints. It hasn't. There's still
Wash
too
your
many.
hands with it, that's all we use soap for.
Excellent. There's still too many detailers using soap. Soap is just a waste of your time, a waste of money, and a waste of water. So, rinseless washing. And rinseless washing doesn't mean you don't rinse the vehicle. It means you don't rinse it after you've washed it. It's simply that. You can pre-rinse all you want. And, one of the things I teach is the ultimate safe wash. And a lot of people, the first thing they do is hit the paint with a pressure washer. So the dirt that's on the paint, you're moving it across the paint at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 PSI. You're scratching the paint with your pressure washer, but you're thinking, hey, I'm pre-rinsing. No. A rinseless wash sprayed on first will actually emulsify the dirt, get it off the surface. It's not gonna rinse away, or it's not gonna clean the surface. And there's no magical pill or chemical that you can put on the surface that's gonna make the car clean without physically touching it. So we can foam all we want, and foaming is great for YouTube and TikTok and all that, but in reality, it's just a waste of your time. Now, if you're foaming on an APC, yes, that'll work. And, as far as efficiencies, the IK sprayers or the detailer kegs, or there's a number of different things like that. They do great things for your efficiency, for your APC. If you take APC in a spray bottle and spray it on a wheel and tire, you've only done it once. There's one point of contact. If you're foaming it on, every time a bubble bursts, you're putting a new point of contact. You're putting new APC on that surface for it to work a little more. So the old advertising of the scrubbing bubbles in the house is true. It works. So for APCs, foam them on. Other than coatings, the most expensive chemical we have in our shop is iron remover. And you should be stocking up. There's probably going to be a shortage of iron removers soon. That's one of the products in it is getting difficult to find. So prices are going to go up, and it's going to be harder to get iron remover. I'll get with you in a second. One thing to save money and efficiency, do not spray the iron remover all over the vehicle. That's just a waste of product. And show of hands, who here loves the smell of iron remover? We have one person. Very good. Some people do, but were you a hairdresser before? So, because chemically it's very similar to perm solution. So someone who likes hairdressing salons, the smell in there, you'll get the idea. But nonetheless, spray it on your clay and use it as a clay lube. You're going to do two jobs in one. You're going to use a lot less product. Your claying is going to be more efficient, and the iron remover will still do its job. So, yes.
I had a question on that. So I use the clay nits a lot. Is
Yeah.
that still works with
Oh, yes.
the remover and the
Yeah. Test it first. Some iron removers are not compatible with all clay mitts or clay towels, so
Okay.
be sure. And if you're still using a clay bar, please throw it away. Get a clay mitt, get a clay towel. They're a lot more efficient. We don't need, unless you're doing overspray removal, things like that. But the clay bar is just a very inefficient way of doing it. We have better ways of doing it now. Just like you wouldn't watch a 12-inch black and white TV and get up and walk over and change the channel, we point a remote at a flat screen, same deal. Yes, sir, you had a question?
Yes, you said apply to APC with foam.
Right.
How do you do that?
You put it in a foamer, not a foam can. So a foam can over dilutes everything. But an actual foamer, they sell, many companies will be selling them on the floor here. But find out your APC, what the proper dilution ratio is for foaming it, and you foam it on, let it sit there. It's almost as if you brushed it. Yes?
When you say don't spray iron remover on the entire vehicle, what parts of the vehicle should we be spraying in?
You're claying the whole vehicle.
So you shouldn't spray any iron remover on?
Just apply the iron remover to your clay towel and apply. You think of your clay towel as the iron remover applicator. And think of the iron remover as your clay lube. Yes, sir.
Is the lubricity enough to not mar up the paint?
Yes.
Even if we're on the mobile drive and we need to do it real quick?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, there's a caveat to that.
Okay.
Wash the car with a rinseless. The rinseless is actually providing the lubrication.
With the polymers and everything?
Right, and then the iron remover, not all iron removers provide good lubrication. So you're gonna have to do a testing. And preferably a perforated clay towel. Now clay towels have evolved over the years. The first clay towels, and they're still on the market today, have sort of a rough surface, and yes, they can mar. But a fine clay towel with the iron remover, you won't get.
Like the nanoskin ones, the one.
No, a perforated clay towel.
Okay.
So there are some on the market now, a couple different brands sell them, that they're actually perforated. That allows for movement. The towel is more flexible, and it also allows for bigger chunks to go somewhere. Yes?
Why not put on wash?
You can spray it on, but a true rinseless won't foam. So if there are some rinseless washes out there that are technically rinseless washes, they're basically just soap. So if your rinseless wash suds and foams, it's not necessarily a good polymer-based rinseless wash.
What makes the APC foam?
APC, most APCs have surfactants in them, and those surfactants combined with salts are what cause the foaming. And a chemical manufacturer can make their APC not foam if they want to, they can make their soap not foam if they want to, or they can make it foam like shaving cream. So,
Anything wrong with just washing it off APC?
no. APC though generally doesn't have enough lubrication, and the pH level being between 11 and 13 for most APCs makes it very harsh on plastics, on glass, things like that. And on you as well. So, if you're working with APCs, gloves, please. And iron removers as well, they're pH neutral, but just having it smell in your hands is great.
Why does the APC melt, clay?
Not all APCs will melt all clay bits. So there are some APCs that have solvents in them. If they have any form of hydrocarbon solvent, there's a good chance they're going to melt that clay bit quickly or make it gummy. So that's where the iron remover is a better choice for claying as opposed to the APC. Are we on time? I don't want to go over either, so let the next person come in. So we're pretty much done in time. This session will be on my YouTube channel, the Detailers Business Academy. So you'll be able to listen back to it. Yes?
I will say that's where actually I learned a lot from your YouTube channel. So I
Okay.
appreciate that. I want to say I
Thank you.
appreciate you putting all that information
Yeah.
out there. It's helped a lot.
So we'll be putting this session and the last session I did also on YouTube as soon as we find Wi-Fi to upload it. So it'll be the next day or so, hopefully. If you have any questions, I'm always available on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. I answer questions. I like doing that. So I'm retired. What I do.